everyone. Welcome to the Intergenerational Housing Learning Network, sponsored by our friends at Generations United. I'm Dr. Dorinda Schubert, and I am the co-lead along with my dear colleague, Ilanka Walker, and we welcome you here. So please put your name and where you're from in the chat so we can build the sense of community and know where everybody's coming from. Today, I have the grand honor of introducing someone very special to me. Brian Carleton is an architect and the principal of Carleton Hart Architect here in Portland, Oregon, but their reach expands beyond within the Pacific Northwest. And their Carleton Hart Architecture is a collaborative architecture firm that believes in investing in innovative community design and coming right alongside their clients. And I can attest to that as having worked with Brian for 18 years on 5 projects now. And I'm delighted that you all get to hear his wisdom and why he does what he does and how he does it. And I hope that you will take away some nuggets for your own work in intergenerational housing. So with that, Brian.
All right. Well, thank you, Dorinda. Thank you for the nice introduction. Again, I'm Brian Carleton, and the reason I'm here is to talk about connections. And the theme of my presentation is the idea that how we design our built environment, the design of the built environment, how we design our spaces, how we design our places, can work for us in strengthening connections between people and connections between the generations. So we really believe firmly that design matters, and it can really have a profound effect on how we act as a society. More simply put, we're designing to connect people. So we can go to next slide. And next slide. One more slide. There we go. So just a quick overview, historical base of why we're doing what we're trying to do is we are essentially built as a clan species. We were meant to be together. We learned a long time ago that through connecting, we were stronger, we were safer, and we were happier. And so, and going back to old urban environments, we were well connected, whether it was the stoop on the public sidewalk or people living above their shop and connecting with people out on the public street. Our communities were designed for connection. As we moved into a more suburban society, suburbia started disconnecting us. It's not built for connections. It's built for privacy. The garage out front and the backyard, and it really started tearing down those connections. And it's not conducive to intergenerational living either. It really has had an isolating effect. So our work, next slide, our work with Bridge Meadows has really been exploring ways to reconnect people in community and design intentional communities and bring the generations back together. So that Dorinda and her team have been incredibly supportive of us as architects. They've always believed, and Dorinda especially has always believed in the power of architecture to build community and to build connections between people. And everything we talk about and the design work we do together is all about how we strengthen connections between people. On the screen right now are the 3 communities that we have up and running. 2 more on the boards, so we're expanding. But on the left is our Portland community. The original Bridge Meadows is now 14, 15 years in running, plus 5 or 6 years of design before that. So we go way back with the Portland community. In the center is our community in Beaverton, Oregon. And on the right is our 3rd community out in Redmond, Oregon. Still working on completing the circle, but we will get that funded someday as well. But you can see a commonality in each of these communities where we are designing are living our homes around a common central green and designing an intentional community through that connection of the shared backyard. I'll talk more about that in just a few minutes. We can go to the next slide. So when next slide, there we go. So when talking about building connections, I'm going to say that a lot, become a broken record, but it's all about connections. We talk about it at different scales. And so the first scale we talk about is at the larger community scale. Um, and this is a site plan of our Portland community and kind of in diagrammatic form just to show the point. And of all of our communities, from a diagram standpoint, an intentionality standpoint, this is probably still the purest. As we've gone to other sites, there have been different challenges that we're solving for. But this was an incredible site in the heart of an established neighborhood and really allowed us to define the diagram that we wanted to achieve. And so what we have is a series of housing for families and for elders surrounding a common green, common backyard space, but it also develops a strong connection to the surrounding community. So we're trying to develop connection to our neighbors, to the community we live in. That's really important when we think about the kiddos we're serving and the families we're serving and the elders who have experienced isolation, that they do feel they're part of a larger community. And so we work really hard to connect out to that community. Even when we're new to an area and we're kind of the catalyst for a community, we're building for those future connections. But then we're also designing for connections within our own intentional community. And you can see this inward focus through the shared courtyard, this inward focus of that intentional community, building connections between our generations living here. Next slide, please. And one of the key elements of that, I'm going to talk about a couple of concepts, and this is the concept of porch. And especially lately, Dorenda and I have been spending a lot of time talking about porch. As our projects and our communities are evolving, we're getting larger, more dense, more urban. And yet we're still trying to hold on to and develop these concepts of connections, and in this case, the porch. And in our so in the existing communities, we've been able to do that quite literally and develop both front porches and back porches. It's what we call a front door, back door connection to community. And so it's really important, this transition space. And the concept of porch is really about transition and control. It allows people to make determinations and make choices as they come and go. The porch is a buffer space between the private space of the home and the very public space of either the neighborhood sidewalk or the shared backyard within the community. And as people come through that porch, this semi-public space, they get to make the choice of whether they want to engage with what's happening outside, or in some cases, retreat back to the privacy of their home. And that choice becomes really important. We call it defensible space because people have control over that and they get to choose when and where they want to engage. That gives them a sense of security, safety, and it actually strengthens their bond to the community because they feel they have control over that. And we're trying to do that throughout our design work, give people these choices. Next slide, please. So that's kind of connections at the community scale. We also look for spontaneous interaction, opportunity for spontaneous interaction and connection in the little moments of life. Just where can we create space that people can connect with each other? And so take you through a couple of common elements. The first is the common green, the shared courtyard that you saw in each of our communities. This is the place that people come and go. They're moving back and forth between the community spaces or the lobby to get their mail or going to visit a neighbor. And so these become very active spaces. The kids are outside playing. Elders are just finding a sunny spot to hang out and have a conversation. But with the coming and going of people, it's a great opportunity for spontaneous connections, spontaneous conversations, which help build that community. This shared backyard we often look at as the heart of the community. It's the pulse of the community. Go to the next slide. Um, the lobby. If the courtyard is the heart of the community, the lobby is the hub of the community. And this lobby, each of our communities has what we affectionately call Building A. I gave it a really fancy name, but Building A is the large building in our community that hosts the majority of the elder housing. Um, it hosts the mailboxes and different functions like that. Um, it also has the large community room, activity rooms, the offices, the administrative offices, and the counseling offices, and all of those good things all come together in Building A. And the lobby is the hub of that. And we're designing that lobby to give people a reason to be there. It's a wonderful opportunity for people to bump into each other, catch up, have that casual conversation, that spontaneous interaction with each other. So we're putting the mailboxes there in a very visible space. We have, and you can see in both of these photos, cubbies for inter-community communications, flyers and notices and news to each other. And and then a very strong attachment to the community room and activity rooms. We're always providing casual seating where people who've just picked up their mail or just walking through can stop and sit and see who's coming and going. So we're looking for that opportunity for these spontaneous connections. Next slide. We're also designing in found spaces that can give people that opportunity to stop and pause and hang out and see who's coming and going. On the right is a space in our Beaverton community that we call the Bird's Nest. It's up on the second floor at the top of the stairs at the end of the hallway as people are heading down to the community space or to the courtyard. And it's open to the hallway. And it was just this wonderful found space that we furnished and gave a strong connection to the outside where people who are coming and going can just stop, pause, take a break and see who's coming and going. And it's been a really wonderful place of spontaneous interactions. It's become very popular, and people are actually scheduling the space now for meetings, planning activities, or that type of thing. But it's been a wonderful place to encourage spontaneous conversations and interaction. We also encourage people to create their own spaces. On the left photo, you can see where this group has pulled tables and chairs from over at the community plaza and just they wanted to engage with the activities out in the courtyard, but they were having a meeting and so they just made their own space. And we really try to encourage that type of self-determination in how you build community and how you build relationships with each other. And it's a way of all the different generations to be part of this very active space, even if you're not all sharing in the same activity. Okay, next slide. And so we're always trying to encourage those spontaneous, unplanned activities, but there's also really an important function in supporting the planned activities, the intentional scheduled activities, whether it's gardening or cooking in the community kitchen or preparing for a community meal or some type of session in the library. And our library has kind of evolved into more of a general activity room. But each of these opportunities are an opportunity for people to come together, elders to share their wisdom, parents to connect with the elders and get advice, and the kiddos to just be part of this community and really interact and build relationships with the adults. So the really allowing for good, healthy, planned activities is also a critical part of what we're trying to do. Next slide, please. One of the key factors that we're always very cognizant of as we are creating these spaces is the idea of visual connection. And visual connection really touches on a lot of elements that we discuss as we're designing our communities. One from a simple trauma-informed design perspective. This visual connection is really a way of people controlling their space, controlling their environment, and previewing what they're about to enter. So it gives a sense of security and safety. It also allows people to find each other, to engage, to make those choices that I was talking about earlier. I talked about this when I was talking about the idea of porch, front and back porch, but we're really looking to create those visual connections throughout the community. The center slide is a second floor porch balcony that serves a small elder housing building that gives them clear preview over the courtyard and what's happening there. So they can come out, see who's down there, see if there's somebody they want to catch up with or an activity that they want to engage with, or just sit and watch and be connected to the community just by watching. So it gives them that choice. The bird's nest in the upper right that I described earlier, it's also a great opportunity for people who are coming down the hallway or up the stairs to just peek out, see who's down in the courtyard, see if they want to go down and participate or just hang out and watch. Our lobbies have typically been very open so that people can see who's coming and going, take away the dark corners, and just give people strong visual connections. The upper left is our Portland community standing in the lobby and very open to the hallway that serves the elder housing. There's a hallway and a stairway there that brings the elders down to the lobby. And in the lower right is Redmond, where off to the right of that photo is the large opening to our community space, and on the left is the opening to our activity room. And being able to see across the lobby between those spaces become very important for parents and children and even elders, just being able to feel connected while they're in the space. We've even taken that idea of visual connection into the design of our family homes. The lower left photo is in one of our family townhomes where we're standing in the living room. And the design of the stairway is very intentional, being open. You can see from the living room back to behind that is the dining room, and over to the right is the kitchen. And there's just strong visual connection between all of these spaces, which we feel really helps solidify the family and the idea that we're all in here together. All right, next slide. With all this connecting, there are challenges, and this has been one of our real opportunities to experiment as we've gone from community to next community. And this idea of owning spaces and how people feel about the spaces they're interacting with. And what we found was a challenge. To the left is that same really strong visual connection that I described a few minutes ago in our Portland community, standing in the lobby and being very well connected to the hallway and the stairway that serves the elder housing. And what we discovered over time was that the elders, because they were so well connected, really started developing a strong sense of ownership of that lobby and the community space that's attached to it, to the point where they were really feeling that the children and the families were invited guests into their space. Couldn't understand why the kiddos were allowed to run around and make noise in the lobby in their home, and why families were able to come and just hang out without an activity happening. They just developed a real strong sense of ownership over that space. That we're solving that problem through programming and counseling and working on that, and I think we're getting there. But we're also trying to solve it architecturally. So when we went to the Beaverton community, we thought about this issue and decided to take our community building with its lobby and with the offices and the mail and all that, and make it its own building. We separated the building. It's connected to the elder building through a breezeway, but it is a standalone building off of the courtyard, a little off the corner of the courtyard. And what we found there was that we were missing the positive side of ownership. There wasn't enough ownership of the space. people didn't have enough reason to go there and just pass through. It wasn't part of the pass-through space of the community. People would certainly go for their mail. They would come for activities or to see somebody in an office, but it was really breaking down the spontaneous, casual interactions that you get when people feel an ownership over the space and have reason to just pass through. So we took the good and the bad and applied it to our Redmond community, and we think we're moving towards a winning formula here, where we have a very active lobby space with all of the good things, and you can see in the right-hand photo, strong connection to the community space off to the right, and there's an activity space off to the left. But if you look at the alcove that's just behind the gentleman wearing the dark pullover and khakis, um, that alcove leads to a pair of doors that leads to the hallway that serves the elder housing. And that filtering effect, that layering effect, has had a really positive impact where the elders still feel connected to the space. They still feel they can come and hang out and be there, and it's part of their movement through the community. But through the filtering, the families also feel like it's their space. It's not so connected to the elder housing that it feels like you're coming into somebody else's home. And so we're finding the families using the space more as well. And we're getting that sense of shared ownership. So that's just an example of the challenges we sometimes face and how our experimentation is continuing to try to build stronger communities. Okay, next, yeah, that kind of wraps up the discussion about our work with Bridge Meadows. This last slide is really just showing how this work with Dorinda and her team has influenced our work on many other projects. We've learned so much about connecting people, building strong communities, intergenerational connections, and we've taken that learning and applied it to other projects. Off to the right, you can see a very urban project, and you can see what I'm talking about the concept of porch, where we've got this transition space, this defensible semi-private space. It may not look and feel like a traditional porch, but it's acting like one. It's giving people that choice of interacting with the sidewalk or not, and it's acting as that layering effect. In the center is a community building in a affordable housing project that we just completed recently. And we've got a community kitchen, we've got the tables and chairs, we've got a large meeting room that you can see in the back, and nice, comfortable seating in the foreground. And providing all of these choices of places to be and ways to interact, this is just a constant beehive of activity. It's been a really successful space that's always populated and people coming and going. In the lower left, just a simple alcove off of a corridor gives people a chance to stop, read their mail, rest their feet. The window that you can see on the left side of that space looks down on the entry to the building so people can see what's happening out on the public sidewalk. This is a very urban setting and looks down onto the public sidewalk and the entry plaza to the building so people can see who's coming and going. And then in the upper left, we designed a project that literally has a public park in its courtyard. This splash pad park is open to the public, and the housing surrounds it. And so there's this very strong connection between the general public and the people who live here. And we've lined the park with public spaces from the housing community, the community room, the lobby, offices. So we're not putting residents right on that courtyard, but they do get to look down on it and have that visual connection and that visual choice of whether they want to interact or not. So that's just to say that we have learned a heck of a lot working with Bridge Meadows, and we're using it in many ways. So that is my presentation.
Brian, thank you so much. And it's wonderful to see all the other projects that you do on a regular basis. And I was wondering if there are some questions in the chat, but before I go to there, I I'm wondering if you could talk a little bit about the importance of universal design in all that we do.
Absolutely. And we use the term universal design. Many of us are familiar with that these days. We're actually trying to evolve that thinking from universal design into inclusive design and equitable design. And the principle behind that is that rather than designing for disabilities and making special allowances for a variety of disabilities, we're trying to create communities and create designs that don't make allowances, but simply inherently invite everybody to participate. So, and it can be challenging. We just completed a project that was on a hillside that we consider inclusively designed through a series of ramped spaces and a lot of different features that really make it available to everyone. So, through trauma-informed design and designing for disabilities and just designing to connect people. We're really trying to make communities available to everyone as much as possible. And now we're in our office applying that to folks with intellectual and developmental disabilities and how we develop communities that uh, bring people who are dealing with that into a shared community and feeling welcome and and able to participate, that type of thing. So.
How have you seen that play out in the what you've done with Bridge Meadows? And I apologize, I didn't fully introduce myself. I'm Dorinda Schubert, the CEO of Bridge Meadows here in the Pacific Northwest. But could you talk a little bit about how that plays out and some of the design features, and then we're going to turn to a question that's in the chat.
Okay. Some of the design features, certainly it helps to start with a level site. Not that we always have that, but we're trying to create a community where everyone has access to all of the spaces. And so whether you're using mobility devices uh, or you're walking with a cane because you're blind or don't see very well. We're trying to create spaces that are barrier-free, that are easy to transition through and easy to move through. So the amount of space we provide for hallways and for restrooms and for all the different things we're doing, we're trying to make them as inclusive as possible. We're trying to create visual connections to enhance wayfinding so that people who have difficulty navigating spaces can easily figure out where they're trying to go, where they want to go. And there's a lot of visual cues as to um, how to get there. Some of it's signage. A lot of it is the architecture, designing entries that really look like entries so people can find that entry easily and quickly. Laying the community out in what we might call a logical sense so that people just have an intuitive sense of where they're trying to go. Let's see, what else are we doing? Lighting is always a factor. We're very careful about our lighting, understanding that we're designing not just for typical visibility, but the aging eye with our elders perceives colors differently, and so we're designing lighting that is very friendly to the elders' eyes, but at the same time brightly lit so that people can, who have vision challenges can see. Um, our signage is certainly friendly to the blind, but also, really visible and really gives people strong cues as to where they're trying to go and what the different spaces are.
I always talk about how our hallways are big enough for a wheelchair and a stroller to pass one another.
Yep. And that's a lovely image that both a wheelchair and a stroller passing in the hallway.
Yeah. Well, our friend, dear friend Irv Katz, hi Irv, has a question for you. To what extent can or do such developments connect residents with commercial and broader community resources on foot or by personal conveyance?
So we're always trying to connect people that said to that outside community. And so connecting people to the commercial areas or the amenities that are down the block or, within walking distance. Um, some of it has to do with simple accessibility and making sure that those connections are easy to navigate. But more of it has to do with architecturally speaking to the prominence of those connections. And as I'm describing this, uh, I'm thinking of a project that we are currently working on in the design phase that is just down the block from a light rail station. And then we're actually introducing some ground floor amenity space to it. And so what we're trying to do is architecturally speak to the importance of that connection by making entryways to our community very visible and very obvious, and the connection to the public sidewalk and to the neighborhood very intentional, so that we're saying we are part of this community. And we're really speaking to our residents to say this connection is important and you are part of this greater community. So um, we don't always get to choose where our sites are. We don't always get to put ourselves right down in the middle of a well-established active hub. Um, but we're always trying to build for that future evolution of the neighborhood and make sure that we're speaking out loud that this connection is important to us.
Mhm.
I hope that answered the question.
I think so. Herb's nodding.
Yeah, 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 definitely.
All right. And now, Valence, forgive me if I've said your name wrong, is wondering about the municipal laws of the city and where the communities are, and how do we create expectations to be able to build our intentional intergenerational communities? A lot of talking.
That's an interesting question. We are blessed in the Northwest with visionary planners and municipalities and jurisdictions who love what we're doing and have always worked with us to make these communities happen. And I'm approaching this when you say municipalities, I immediately go to regulations and that type of thing, hoping that's the intent of the question. But we have found from a zoning perspective, thank you, Valence. Appreciate that. That from a zoning perspective and design review perspective, that we are dealing with very welcoming jurisdictions. They get what we're trying to do. They want to help us make it happen. And our original project, we had to get very creative because we were actually in a single family residential zone. And Portland has since changed their zoning regulations where it would have been very easy to develop this. But we had to come in under the guise of group living where we could increase our density. And they worked with us step by step to make sure that we qualified as group living so that we could develop this community on this property. And that's just an example of the kind of support we've had. And we've experienced that support in each community we've been in, open arms. So it hasn't been too much of a challenge. We've had to jump some hurdles, but the municipality has always been there to help us get over those hurdles.
Yes, we've been very blessed. All right. Laura, you are asking a question that I was going to ask Brian, so thank you for bringing it. All right, we're going to talk about the tension between maximizing the number of units. We talk about this all the time, Brian. Maximizing the number of units and allocated spaces for hanging out and connecting, especially in affordable housing. So any thoughts on how to get past all of that? We've done it. So why don't you share with everyone how we've done it?
We have done it by serving both masters because we have grown, we have evolved, and we understand the importance of a financially feasible project. It has to work from a financial standpoint. So we have to be efficient with our space. We have to design for economical construction. The balance between maximizing units and providing those opportunities for open spaces for spontaneous connections. It is always a tug of war, but what it forces is an efficiency. We decide where do we place it and how do we design it so that it for maximum effectiveness? So in our original Portland project, we had a lot of these leftover spaces, I'll call them in a positive way, these places for people to gather more spontaneously. And what we found is that there were too many of them, that people wanted to focus closer to the hub. They wanted to be part of the center of the community, even if they were just casually wandering through. And so we've really scaled down the number of spaces and just made sure that they were really effective spaces, that they could be multi-purpose, that they would serve a lot of different needs, and just do fewer of them. And that has been working for us. And we continue to refine the efficiencies, certainly increasing our densities, but have just forced us to be much more disciplined about limiting the spaces, but making them more effective. And we feel like we're doing a good job of that.
An example of that is that the Redmond lobby is probably triple the size of the Portland lobby, because we recognize that lobbies became a very important place for people to gather. You can almost tell what time of day it is by the noise in the lobby. It's like, oh, the kids are off at school. There's young voices, or oh, the mail's been delivered. Okay, so the lobbies initially weren't the focal point, but now they have been one of the focal points. But it is. I will also say this: it's a lot about a political will, and a lot about relationships. And I get that job in the team. And it's about people understanding that as we create intentional intergenerational communities, as all of us are interested in doing on this call, that we are solving many social issues, and like we're one antidote for many social issues. And so people will wrap their minds around it. I think that the opposition is more come with neighbors who've been there, just the normal NIMBYism, people worried, not in my backyard, that they're worried that, what will this affordable housing do? They have ideas about what affordable housing is, and we show them that our buildings are really beautiful. And we had actually somebody use us as a selling point for selling their house across the street from the beautiful new Bridge Meadows. So that's really more where we have the issues. But it does, I will tell you, it's a lot of talking around our team, and sometimes it's an exercise in it's like solving puzzles. You're just really always trying to solve the Rubik's Cube, but it is a definite issue to think about, because the affordable housing dollars don't fund that. So we go get philanthropy to help us solve some of that issue. Okay. I'm just looking at if there are any. Okay, there's one more here. And Naya, you've written a beautiful note to all of us. Thank you so much. Okay, let me. Okay, Monica has a question. What are the ways that we center connection and inclusive design in the schematic and planning phases? And then she goes on to say, in affordable housing, it's challenging to fund projects, and in value engineering, some aspects can be lost. And in value engineering, some aspects can be lost. Don't we know that, Monica? And so how do we help guide the large teams in preserving the opportunities for connection? I'll let you go, Brian.
I'll start. You can fill in. Well, first of all, I want to say we always start by documenting our goals and our principles, design principles. And we, even working on communities number 4 and 5, we remind ourselves of our goals at the beginning of every project. And so we're always taking this goal-based approach. And what that does is it helps us to prioritize. As we go through the value engineering process, that inevitably comes, and we're wrestling with choices and costs, we always come back to the goal. How is this serving the community? We know we're starting to learn what works, and are we cutting the fat, or are we cutting the meat? And so we're always asking ourselves that question. This process starts at the very beginning. Your question was about the early programming and schematic design phase. And it starts with the diagram. And as I showed that rendered site plan of the Portland community, and I called it a diagram, it starts at that diagramming phase. What is important to us? How do we turn this site into a community, a thriving community? And so we start with that early diagramming and really figuring out how we can organize the community for success. And then each step of the way, we're just adding layers of information and detail and refining that concept of the community development and designing for connections. And as we get the cost feedback from our contractor, and we're inevitably over designing because our dreams are so big, we scale back, but we scale back in the areas that don't affect community and don't affect connections. Um, we had incredible in our Tacoma design, just incredible conversations about the importance of the porch, and and the contractor wanted to just chop off the porches, and we just worked very hard to simplify the porches, uh, hang on to them, and just simplify the design so that we could keep those in the project. And so it's that type of process of really understanding what's important to us, and then letting the things that are not so important, letting those go.
I would also say it starts with also bringing the team all on board. We are blessed that we've had the same construction company and the same architect firm for all of our Bridge Meadows communities, and so there's a sense of the Bridge Meadows isn't just carrying the culture of what we're trying to do. We have these we call them adjunct faculty folks who also carry the culture. And so when we bring in a new partner, like our new real estate development consultant, we dip them in the culture. We have them visit Bridge Meadows. We have them understand. Brian talks to them, and then there's a joke that says, "Don't even talk to her about making that community room smaller. You will lose." So don't. So we talk about what's our vision for. We talk a lot about what's the vision, and who's going to live there, and what our dreams and hopes are for them, and that just, it centers everybody, and it's no different than what we do with our communities. Our communities are all centered around these children having safe and abundant lives. So when people get snarky with each other, it's like we remind each other this is our social purpose. Well, it's no different on our team. This is the reason we've come together. So we're smart people. Let's figure it out. And that took time, though. I like it's just like the communities take time to bake. So did our team. And I always say that our team is the community before the community, and that we are, making it so that when our community members move in, they will be warmly received by the greater community, by how we have behaved, how we've designed, how we've constructed, and how we've behaved during those phases with the neighbors. So. Just a little, those aren't architect things, but those are the things that are important to building and making sure Bridge Meadows communities are beautifully welcomed into the neighborhood. Because the last thing I want to have happen is that an elder or a child or a parent walks out the door and they're greeted with a snarky neighbor. I mean, I know we all have snarky neighbors, but that they're greeted like, "Oh, we couldn't wait for you to come. They're so glad you're here." So there's a lot of work we do at the neighborhoods and we actually, we didn't say this, Brian, we actually invite neighbors, a little group of neighbors, to come and comment on our design, and some of their ideas we have used, and they've influenced our design, and I think made it better. So those are the other things that happen around the design. Okay. Oh, thanks. So Irv, thank you. I'm going to just brag about you. So there's the Intergenerational Community Planning, and it's available by the American Planning Association. And then there's the Intergenerational Housing Blueprint that Generations United and several of us got to be a part of. So there's our tremendous resources for all of you that are free, that you can access through the American Planning Association and the Generations United website, which is chock full of all kinds of wonderful resources. Okay, so last question for you, Brian. If you were to go talk to a group of graduate students, what would you say to them about how they need to be engaged as an architect with with cool ideas, innovative ideas. I know I didn't tell you that, sorry.
No, that's I I think it's accepting the fact that you're learning, that it's really important to learn and to listen. Um, and there has been a certain amount of experimentation as we have moved from community to community because we're all learning together. So nobody comes in knowing it all. Nobody comes in with the big idea. The big idea comes from this shared experience, and it's coming in very humble, willing to listen. And I know we're taught in architecture school that we are demigods and we are these wonderful designers and we know what's best for society. And that's the first thing we tell our young architects out of school is you need to have humility and you need to learn from the people you're designing for. And so we've always had a process of as we're going to our next community, we go back to the most recent community and talk to the folks who live there and talk to them about what's working, what's not working, and we learn from them. And we're always trying to engage with our past communities. We're trying to engage with our neighbors to learn from them. And so, what I would tell the graduate school, student is your most important tool you have is your ears, and it's just important to learn from the people you're designing for.
I always say you have the heart of a therapist, Brian. You took my words and you made Bridge Meadows happen. And there's a couple more questions. And hello, Carla. Nice to see you. And hello, Chelsea. All right, Balance has another question. How do the communities organize their visions and communal activities? We have a therapeutic staff on site every single day in each of our communities, and they help fit those dear community members together because you can't just throw 3 generations together in a community and say, go for it. They need some support in how to build community. And then Laura, the sweet spot that we found, well, we'll tell you. Our first 3 are we have 36, 36, and 41 units, mostly elder units, and then 9 to 10 parent units or family units. But in Tacoma, we're going up to 60 units, and Brian and I knew that we were probably going to get here someday. So we've been talking about how we build micro neighborhoods inside Bridge Meadows neighborhood. So more connection, more windows, more crossings naturally. And so we've been thinking about that for a long while, understanding that how the world of low income housing tax credits works, that, you know, they want more units for the price. So, so we will let y'all know how having 14 parent units and then the rest being elder units goes. We're also doing something different where Brian referred to Building A. Traditionally, Building A has been our elder building. And in Tacoma, we're putting 4 flats of parents. So 4 apartments on the first floor will be for families. So nobody can complain about little feet making too much noise. And then all the elders will be above them, in addition to 2 buildings of townhouses. And that became, we listened very, Brian does an amazing job of listening, and of course our team. And we listen to our community members, and they really help us improve the design. We have a tradition that every time we go build a new one, Brian and his team goes to the most recently created one and asks what's working and what's not working. And it's a lot of fun. I think that the members of the community feel very empowered and very special that they get to inform the next one, and they feel like they're part of the movement. And so that design came from the voice of the parents who said, you know, stairs are nice, but they're not always nice. So could you build some flats? So that's what we're going to give a try. And we also believe in the proximity of the parents and the elders. We didn't talk about that, Brian. And so we don't put all the elders over here and all the parents over here and kids. We mix them or put them adjacent to each other. And so they'll be really adjacent to each other. So we'll see how it goes.
Yep.
All right, let me see if there's any more questions in there. I don't think so. But Brian, as you know how I feel about you, but I call him like my brother. But thank you for being here and sharing all your wisdom with our dear friends across I'm going to say across the world. We have somebody from Canada here today and Costa Rica. And so thank you so much for what you do every day, because I know you don't just share these blessings with Bridge Meadows, you share them with many, many other nonprofit leaders. So thank you so much, Brian.
Well, thank you for that. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Enjoyed
And
being here. I love talking about this. I spent 20 minutes when I could easily spend 2 hours talking about. So it's been a wonderful life experience for me.
yes, I think you said to me, if you could, you'd just come work at Bridge Meadows.
Yes. That
And
day
I
is
would
coming.
love that.
That day
I
is
would,
coming.
I would love that. All right. Well, everybody, thank you so much for being here. But I'm going to turn it over to my dear colleague, Ilanka, to take us out. Yes, we're coming to Tacoma. Yes. And Bellingham. And I heard Bay Area. We would love to be everywhere. And LA. Hi, Chelsea. It's our dream that we're going to figure out how to get to all those places in the coming year. So thank you, everybody. And Ilanka, it's off to you now, my friend.
Thank you. You can go to the next slide, Adina. Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. We really appreciate you listening to this conversation. If you want to stay connected with us, please scan the QR code, and it has a bunch of our social media, as well as gets you connected to our website, and sign up for Generation This Week, where we send updates and intergenerational news and just different things that are happening related to intergenerational programming as well. We also have several other webinars that were posted on our website over the past few weeks if you want to check those out as well. And when you leave this webinar, you'll get a survey question asking what are some new topics that you'll be interested in hearing in the next Intergenerational Learning Network next year. So if you have any topics or any ideas, something you are interested in or something you want to hear about next year regarding intergenerational housing, feel free to fill out that survey. Thank you all for joining us today. Oh, and if you have any questions, please feel free to email me at iwalker@gu.org or check out either one of our websites, Generations United or Bridge Meadows website. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone, for being here. It was great to meet you.